Hi, this is Bren Masson, host of Freshwaves, Whistle FM's Wednesday morning talk show. April is Organ Donation Awareness Month in Canada, so we are bringing awareness to the airwaves with real-life stories of real organ donors, families who have made the difficult decision in moments of extreme tragedy to donate a loved one's organs, and organ recipients themselves. Join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. to hear these heartwarming and inspirational stories on Fresh Waves. And go to beadonor.ca and register to be a donor today.
Today I'm gonna try to change the world.
And we're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We've got Lisa, Robbie, Eric, and Nancy in the studio this morning. And we were just finishing the story here with how Lisa and Nancy met. And just to clarify for the listeners, when you said you were going over to Sick Kids, what was the ceremony or the event that was taking place at Sick Kids?
It's a presentation medal that is given to donor families that have donated organs.
Yes.
So they do it once a year, or is this like a...
well, I'm not even sure if they do it now, but it was once a year back then.
Yeah.
Oh. And it was if your child, passed at Sick Kids, they honored them that way. Mm-hmm. So it was very nice. And obviously gave us the opportunity to meet, which most people don't have. And yeah, it's been a great relationship.
It was also, just to add a few things, it was very emotional, because then they were taken away. Once I had met them, then they were taken away to get this medal. And actually Laura Batista from, what was she on that? Whatever she was on, came up to me, and then she interviewed us later as well in regards to the whole story, whatnot. Mm-hmm. So
must have been a little later, because it probably was a bit shocking, even though you'd gone on a quest to find her. Still, it's shocking.
Yeah. And I'm not a drinker, but if somebody offered me a drink, I would have taken one. Much needed. I'm not sure what I did at work that day either. I went back and I was like totally in a daze, like hours later, like, what am I doing here?
It was very surreal, but it gave us this affirmation, this alive person that we know is doing well and here because of Ryan's wish that he wanted to donate organs. Really,
it must be such a great feeling in a moment of such tragedy, because there is nothing worse. I can't imagine anything worse than losing a child. Mm-hmm. So
devastating, but
and
then you don't get over it.
And Ryan looks like you. Honestly, I was when you first put the picture on the table, I thought, who is this? Because it looks, he's got your eyes.
Oh yeah. Well, funny you should say that, because the young man who received one cornea from Ryan, I heard from his parents again later, a few years later, that he had graduated on the dean's list, and he was now doing research into finding cures for cancer and treatments for cancer. And they sent a picture, because they also somehow, I'm not sure how, connected. Just I did quite a bit of media. I wrote a story in Chicken Soup for Canadian Soul, and we worked on a curriculum. I worked for York Region District School Board, and we did a curriculum, whole program for teaching kids grade 5 to 8 about transplants, and it went to 7,500 schools across Canada. So I don't know, it's just probably through all these things somehow. Anyway, they figured out, who we were and who Ryan was, and the picture of the boy looks so much like Ryan, and they couldn't believe it either, because they had seen his picture.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. And if I can say one little story about that too, when Ryan was about 8 or 9, his grandma had gotten really sick with cancer, and he said, when I get older, I'm going to find a cure for cancer, and you're going to be the first one who gets it. So it was so odd and interesting and wonderful to hear that this young man was using Ryan's eye to help find treatments for cancer.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
What a small world it is.
Oh, yeah.
All intertwined.
Yeah.
So, Robbie, how are things going with you right now? You finished with your rejection.
Yes.
And the lungs are working well, and
I'd say they work pretty good.
Yep. So do you participate in all this organ donation awareness? I mean,
Absolutely.
you're here on the show, and So you're a big advocate for it?
Absolutely. Anywhere I can fit myself into.
To just talk about it. And does it bother you to talk about it when you hear these stories of people who wake up and they're miraculously cured where it wasn't quite that easy for you?
No, everybody's different and everybody reacts differently. You don't know what to expect, and I played the cards that I was dealt. Mm-hmm. So far, now everything's turning out pretty good. Slowly I'm going uphill, which is where I want to go.
Absolutely. That's the right way to be going, isn't it?
Yep.
For sure.
I just got to catch up to Eric.
Well, there you go. So you use me as inspiration, right? Motivation. There you go, right?
That's part of my story too. Is you are a big inspiration to me. I mean, you and our late friend Donnie.
Yeah, Don. Yeah.
Really inspired me to go ahead and do this, because at first I wasn't going to. I was afraid of it.
Oh, okay.
And watching these fellas and seeing all the things that they could do really inspired me to go ahead and get myself in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that was the case with myself as well. When I knew I was going to have to do this eventually, and a mutual friend introduced me to Don Geldhard, who had a transplant a few years prior to me, and and I was a little reluctant to. It's a scary thing to go through, and you think, what if you don't come out the other side, right?
Right.
And so after seeing Don and speaking to him, I thought, okay, well, this is I'm going to do this for sure, right? That sort of solidified my decision to go ahead with this. And so moving on from there, part of what you have to do is you go through these exercise programs, and one place I was at was Cornell down here in Markham, and it was for people that have lung issues, breathing issues, and that
COPD
sort of thing,
mostly,
COPD.
Emphysema.
So, that's right. So
or
I was
eczema. No, emphysema.
Emphysema, yeah.
So I was in that program for a while, just to you try and stay as healthy as you can. Even though you can't breathe, you do exercises sitting in a chair or whatever you can, just to stay as active as you can. So I did that. After my transplant, though, I started doing. I was at a different program, just in a regular gym and down at Toronto General. But Rob was into that program, and Don was going there as well, and they had met. And so I stayed in contact with Don. He goes, well, there's this guy Rob down there, and he's having a tough time, and we should go talk to him and show him what it's like to have a transplant, and that it's okay, right? He's a little bit reluctant. So we went down, we met Rob, and being a Stouffville guy too, we started going for breakfast every now and then at the Fickle Pickle, and try and motivate him to go ahead and do this. I mean, look at the other side. Look how good Don is and how good I am right now. And so I think that we just tried to help him and motivate him to stay positive. Right?
We got a new slogan now for Fickle Pickle.
There you go.
There's nothing fickle about this pickle.
So
You'll be sending you donations.
Yes. They have to pay for that.
So, I mean, the other thing I've gotten involved with, again, through hockey. So I was... after you get the transplant and things are going well, and they just want to tell the whole world and try and get everyone on board. So I thought, how do I go about doing this, right? So anyway, I with Jay and myself, and we worked the.
That's right. Yeah, the at the Strawberry
Festival.
The
Strawberry Festival.
Yeah,
doing the organ donation booth, right?
Yeah.
So after doing that was great. The response sometimes was kind of strange. Like there's a lot of vendors there, and we have a kiosk there, and people would come and go, "Oh, so what are you guys selling?" I go, "Well, we're not selling. It's organ donation." People would like, "Whoa, walk the other way."
Walk away. No, thanks. I'm using them at the moment.
That's right. And the famous line people say, "Oh, they don't want my organs,"
Yeah.
One of those things. So
people always say that.
That's right. That's right. But so. After that, I started thinking about it. It's and a lot of people who've seen the Strawberry Festival aren't necessarily from Stouffville and so on and so forth. And Don and myself had talked. We should try and get all of Stouffville on board, and it's a tough thing to do. Like, where would you start, right?
Yeah.
So, thinking in about it and going back to playing hockey, I thought, let's start small. And so I've been trying to, along with a couple other gentlemen, try to engage the Stouffville Men's Hockey League. So we set up an organ donation awareness campaign in the lobby during our hockey games, and the response was fantastic. So we're trying to get, and everyone in the league knows me, or a lot of people do that, because I was there for a long time. That had to stop playing for about 6 years, and then started back again. And people think, when they hear my story, they think it's just such a great thing. And then that Humboldt thing happened, and
Right,
hockey,
so-
and there's a connection there, right?
Right, and in Stowell now we have the Eric effect.
The Eric effect. Well, that would be good if we had that. So just trying to start
You need
something.
a T-shirt now to go with
That's
it, right?
right.
Green. Although, you know what? When we do talk to the people from the donation place, we've got to talk to them about this green thing.
Yeah, maybe
You know,
change
St.
the
Patrick's Day is green.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's
We
right.
got to come up with our own
And look at the
color.
Irish and all. I don't
Yes.
know. It seems like we're kind of ripping them off somehow.
Right.
And then there's the fact that if you had any organ in your body that was green, it wouldn't be a good thing.
No.
So I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be better if there was a different color?
Yeah.
Yeah, purple.
There you
Nobody's
go.
used purple for
Possibly,
anything.
yeah.
You don't want to use pink because pink is
no.
breast cancer.
Yeah.
And blue is autism. And yellow, again, just doesn't sound right. A yellow organ would probably mean you needed a kidney transplant.
Right.
And so,
Or a liver.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe purple would be a good color. Can you imagine? And it
There
would
you
be
go.
bright
Go
and
for it.
colorful and fun. Someone's already probably got purple, but so obviously they're not doing a good marketing job
That's
with it
right.
because we would know if.
There you go.
if-
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
There we are. Anyway,
So-
we're a little off topic. That's okay. Increasing awareness is what it's all about.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's if we could do, that's sort of the way I looked at it. If I could get the whole league to get on board, so there's 6 divisions. There's 3 women's divisions and 3 men's divisions. So it's over 500 people involved.
Right.
So. My long-term goal, and things don't happen overnight. So
No,
it's
of course they don't.
It's constant, being involved, staying, and setting up once a year, a couple times a year in the lobby, making sure it's ongoing, right? And hopefully that snowballs into maybe we can get involved with the minor hocky leagues here. You know, that they're
Who
all
knows?
part of it, right?
And it's
so
a
that
big
they're-
help with the Logan Boulet effect
Exactly.
going on. And
Yeah.
last April, when the bus crash originally happened, they had 100,000 people sign on. The largest number of people signing on ever.
That's right.
And then since then, it's over 200,000.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I heard some
200,000.
figure this weekend alone of how many signed in. It was a
again.
large
Right.
number again. And I think it's important that every community that we live in, like Scarborough was one of the lowest for organ donation about 5 years. We were like way below the average. I'm not going to go into how low we were. But over the years, we've put the Scarborough chapter of Trillium Gift of Life. We go to Service Ontario. They supply us a spot and we put out all of our information and we talk to people before they stand in line to actually get asked if they want to register via their license or health card or be a donor.ca. We have people saying, oh, I'll just go online and register as well. So we've really increased the amount of organ donation within our city as well. So like you were saying, you start off with a small project and it can grow. So
Right.
we're now at RibFest and we're now at the community events in our our
Right.
city. So
Right.
there's so much out there that can be done, not only through discussions and talks and whatnot, but as simple as doing a booth in a mall,
Right.
be it Organ Donor Month or other times as well.
And I heard through the grapevine that you met Kay at TIFF. And TIFF should have a booth.
Kay, did you hear that?
Okay, I'm
Great
thinking
idea.
there should be an organ donation awareness booth at TIFF. If not the odd TED Talk, or we can make our own talks about it
Exactly.
during the TIFF
There
thing,
we
because
go.
there's so many people that come in for TIFF from all over the place.
Yes,
It's a good audience.
it's a very big audience.
Good audience.
Very true.
Alrighty, we have to take another short break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. You're listening to Fresh Waves on Whistle FM.
Hi, this is Jay Rumble, host of the Block Party on Whistle FM. 19 years ago, my sister gave me the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. She donated her kidney to me as mine was failing. I am alive today because of organ donation. April is Organ Donation Awareness Month in Canada. Please go to beadonor.ca and register to be a donor today. That's beadonor.ca.
We're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. This morning we're talking organ donation awareness. And we have a really nice mix of people in the studio this morning because we have a woman who has donated her son's organs because you have to when they're children. You have to, as a parent, you have to sign off on it. They don't have registration for kids. They can't do it on their own.
That's correct. Yes, I believe you have to be 18. And I think the most important thing really is just sharing with family that this is something you want to do, no matter what age you are, to make everyone aware this is really important to you. Because even if you register, I believe it's still family that are asked. They don't do it against their wishes. But knowing that your family has told you this is what you want, I think probably is a really high percentage that actually do it, that do make the donation. And in my case, we knew that's what our son wanted, and it made that decision so automatic and just so much easier, because you want to do what they wanted. You want to help fulfill their wishes, right?
As much as you can. It's a wonderful thing.
Definitely. And when you lose someone you love, you get a lot of comfort, and it helps with your grief to know and to hear things. Trillium Gift of Life does give you reports if you ask about who got your organs. Right. Not details of who they are or anything, but just, age and how they're doing and who got them. And all that helps to, you don't get over the death of a child, but you learn to live with it. And I think you get a lot of comfort through, if you are one who's lucky enough to be able to actually do that donation.
And that's the thing, not everybody can donate.
Exactly.
And there's really only a small portion of people that can donate. And I think that's a bit of a misconception with people, because I've had, again, doing it through the hockey league, people come up to me, well, I don't know if I want to donate. They're not going to use my organs, and so why would I donate? And I said, well, it's about like, you've got grandkids, you've got other friends and people. It's about bringing awareness to it. So by registering as an organ donor, maybe necessarily your organs probably won't be used. There's a small percentage of people that will be eligible to donate their organs.
Right. I always say to people for that, I always say to people when people say I'm too old or I have this illness or that, things change dramatically. I mean, when I first was going to have a kidney transplant, my father wasn't allowed to be tested because he had high blood pressure. Well, now that's almost like secondary nature. If you have high blood pressure, you can still give to another high-risk patient, it's called. So I always say when I go do high school talks, which I'm very fond of, where we approach the younger people, I always say, if there is an organ that you wish to not donate, it's better to say that than to say, if you want to donate everything, say it, and at the time they will test you accordingly. Be it what illness you may have today, may not be a concern in the future. Right. So it's really hard for people to understand.
Or just say you're going to donate and leave it up to the medical professions to take what they want and need. Right. They're going to tell you right off anyway, nah, can't use that one.
That's right. I mean, you're more likely to be a recipient than you are to be a donor.
Right.
So.
But Eric's right. I think it's something like 1.5% or something that are actually in a position, because you have to, if you're in an accident out on the road and you don't get on life support, or your blood perfusing through your body to keep your organs going, then so not that many people are
meet the criteria.
That's right. But that's only for organs.
Yes.
Yeah, just because tissue is a huge
tissue is another huge thing.
Tissue, you could be 89 and in a nursing home, and I believe you get 24 hours to donate, even like corneas, and I'm not sure about skin, but there's a great need for skin for blood burn victims and things like that, and so there's other things that you don't have to be in the same position.
Right.
The oldest living tissue donor is over 100, and the oldest living organ donor, I can't speak, is over 90. So there's no age limit. I never want people to say I'm too old or I have an illness. The other day I actually had someone at Service Ontario, really interesting, come up to me and say, I'm a diabetic and have been since I was 4. I looked at her, I go, yeah? Okay, so what's the catch here? I said, of course, probably you can't donate your pancreas, and probably you'll have, kidney issues of some sort probably in your life, but they look at everything else and say, okay, does she have good lungs, or does she have good skin or eyes or whatnot? And she goes, really? you're the first one that's ever told me that. And I'm like, wow, like just that little bit of education to people. A lot of people don't know, and Trillium Gift of Life has an amazing website with addresses all of the religions. All of the major religions believe in organ donation. So there's a lot of misconceptions that have been out there over the years, and I think we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but 20 years ago, nobody heard about, or 22 now, nobody heard about organ donation.
It was taboo.
It was never talked about. Like me even knowing that I may have to have one day, I knew nothing about it. Now it's a whole different ballgame when you get involved and you become part of it, but really, the average person now knows about organ donation, like something, someone, somehow, some way, which we've come a long way, I'll say, in 20 years. Not that I'm pleased where we exactly are today, but let's not go there.
Well, yeah, we should go there. We should go there and say, okay, it's not where we want it to be.
No, it's not.
We hear about this in April. Do you hear about it any other time of the year? Nope. It just drops off the radar. And this is something that, increase awareness in April, but then maintain that increased awareness throughout the rest of the year so that the momentum doesn't die.
I think one of the programs that is really working to do that is the educational program. It's done
I think so too.
With the University Health Network, University of Toronto, St. Mike's at Kids. And basically what it does is it takes renal professionals of any sort. They can be doctors or they can nurses, physiotherapists, across the board, coordinators, and they go out and speak, and they have a presentation that they do, and then they ask recipients, this is one of my favorite things, recipients to tell their story, and then we take questions and whatnot from the audience. Sometimes we do whole schools, which are really nice because then you get a whole cross-section of feedback. Sometimes they're just science classes, depending what the school wants and needs, but that's a great program, and I suggest very highly, if your school hasn't done it, to speak to Anna Coco at UHN.
Yeah, why not? And get the information that you need and know how to teach it. And you were involved in a teaching exercise like that as well, weren't you? Through the Board of Education.
Yeah. It was aimed at grade 5 to 8 when they were learning about the human body. And because my son was, grade 4 when he passed, and he already understood the value of organ donation and transplants, we thought, well, kids are so resilient and they're so open and accepting of things that adults seem to worry about. So it's a great age to educate kids, and while they're learning about the human body, they could learn a little more. So yeah,
it's terrific. So Robbie, who's sitting here so quietly, do you still spread the word?
When I can, absolutely.
Yeah, because you're not the guy who's going to stand on a soapbox and shout it to the universe. But if you're in a booth and people come up to you, do you tell them your story?
If I get that opportunity, absolutely.
Do you leave out the bad bits? or do you tell them the way it really was for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. You'd have to expect it to either go well or expect it to be a little sour. You could expect it not to work at all.
But then the fact that it wasn't working for you, but now it is, that's pretty miraculous too,
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to throw in too was how far they've come with the organs is now hepatitis C positive patients are acceptable donors.
Really?
Yep. My donor was hepatitis C positive.
Really?
And now that there's a cure for hepatitis C.
Oh, so you don't have hepatitis C?
I did.
You did because of the lungs?
Yeah, I did. And I went on a 3-month study program where they gave me the meds for free. And after the 3 months, all the blood work showed that it was all gone.
Wow. That's amazing in itself.
They've done the first HIV patient in Quebec.
Wow.
Oh.
So HIV to HIV as well with a kidney.
I've heard about
That
that
makes
too.
sense, yeah.
Wow.
So it's come, there's pair exchange as well. I'm a volunteer for the Kidney Foundation, and I get calls from patients that have just been diagnosed, have different issues with it. And I also run a support group in Scarborough once a month. We alternate afternoons and evenings, where patients come and we talk about whatever they would like to talk about in regards to kidney disease. And the nice thing about the Kidney Foundation support groups are that the fact that it's run by patients who've been through it, And we can relate to the kidney journey, the struggles that people go through. Your body's never accepting that organ as its own. Your body's always fighting against you with that organ. So there's always going to be ups and downs. It's never a perfect, once you get an organ, everything's perfect. It may seem perfect, but there are always challenges and obstacles that you need to cross over the years in regards to having a transplant.
So now that you guys meet once a month down in Scarborough, you can also come up here to the Fickle Pickle.
Okay.
That's the place. Yeah.
Okay, we provide free parking and food. Do you do that?
But there's always room for improvement on the Fickle Pickle meeting spot. But that's not a bad idea, you know? It's not a bad idea to have a place where recipients can come and get support. I mean, it was nice. Obviously, you had the support of these guys, Eric and Dawn, when you were about to go through this. Did that make a huge difference for you?
It did, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there are questions that you sort of say, oh, maybe that's not a question for my doctor. Maybe I'll hold it back. Maybe it's something more personal about lots of different things. We won't over that topic.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you sit with the guys or we sit at a meeting like this, it's usually a small group. It's not like hundreds of people, right? It's, top I think is 20 people. And then we divide it. You have a more intimate and you get to know people more on an individual basis, and you're easier to open up about things. And when the leaders of the group or the people who've already gone through it open up, I find other people are more willing to open up as well and share their stories.
And it's one thing to talk to a doctor, but when you get to talk to somebody who's already been through the same thing that you're about to go through, it must give you solace somehow.
Absolutely. It seems more validated when you talk to somebody that's been through it. And you can clearly,
It's real. It's real. Like
It's real.
there's
It's
put something to it. It's tangible.
Right.
Right. There's somebody there. You can feel him, touch him, hold him, talk to him. Right. So it's very different. Right. And that's like when I was started the campaign with the hockey, it was like you can see me, and that puts a human factor into it.
Right.
And that made a big difference for people when they could see this. Actually, look at this person is here. They saw me when I was sick, and they see me again playing hockey again, and that just makes everything completely different.
The before and
Right.
after is
The
very
before and
effective
after.
in regards to these type of things, because people then say, oh my gosh, like it really opens people's mind to things like that. And I agree 100% on that.
Right.
All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Time flies when we're having fun here on Whistle FM. You're listening to Fresh Waves. We're going to take a little break now, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion and organ donation awareness, and we'll get to hear from the one and only Jason Rumball, sitting there behind the microphone, being awfully quiet but working the board. So that'll be when we get back from our next break. You're listening to Fresh Waves. Stay tuned.